Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Streamed and Screened, an entertainment podcast about movies and TV from Lee Enterprises. I'm Terry Lipshetz, managing editor of the National Newsroom at Lee and co-host of the program with All-American gold medalist Bruce Miller, editor of the Sioux City Journal and a longtime entertainment reporter.
I am so all in with the Olympics. You can't pull me away from the TV. I have been watching from morning till night, the repeats, everything. And I love the Olympics. Now, that said, okay, what'd you think of the opening ceremony?
You know what? I was gone for the opening ceremony. I recorded it, but I still haven't seen it. I've heard about it. I've heard it like some people, you either love it or you hate it. That's the reviews I've been given.
It's the longest kind of parade of states because they're on boats. And then some poor countries get these little tugboats, and others are getting like a luxury liner. And you're going, well, this isn't fair. Then we should put them all in a tugboat and call it good. Or, some kind of a loading dock and then pull it across. But it took forever to get through that. And then they'd throw in a little, like there's Lady Gaga singing on some steps. Then, of course, there was this fashion show that got a lot of heat. Mm-hmm. Now, people misconstrued that they thought it was the Last Supper. It was not the Last Supper. It was some other kind of Olympic-related thing. But the idea that drag queens are doing this was just enough to trigger people. And, it was what it was. Paris is known for fashion. Let them strut on a barge. I don't care. But, it's their country. The thing I was surprised about was how many Americans they used in the show. Because, frankly, isn't it always a chance for us to see artists from their countries?
Yeah, I was a little. That's the one thing I want to bring up because, as I said, I didn't get a chance to see it. I did get a review from my mom who said it was very French. Like, if that makes any sense.
I like
but it. It was very French. But Lady Gaga was there, and then they were talking about
Celine Dion.
Like I get it. She's French
Canadian,
but she's Canadian. She's not French.
Canadian. It works.
Are you still considered part of France if you're French Canadian? I thought you were Canadian.
Yes,
Canada was an offshoot of the UK. I don't know. I mean, it's like they've got the king on their money. So
they got Serena Williams taking the torch, and you think, come on, did you have enough people in your country to haul the torch around?
Right.
And Snoop got to take the torch too.
Yes.
Rafa Nadal got to do it. So I'm thinking they're very generous in letting other countries, but I would have thought there must have been somebody from 1958 that carried a torch at some point. We can pull them back.
Yeah. That's where, to me, that sounded kind of strange because, I think back to London, for instance, when they did theirs, all the performers, they were very British, right? You had all these, they're just icons of the UK at the moment. I think back to Atlanta in '96. Wasn't that when Muhammad Ali lit the torch and how, emotional that was? Those are the types of things. And, when we get to LA in 2028, I expect that to be an opportunity for.
We're not letting Heath Thorpe in. He's not coming from Australia to run the thing. No,
it's going to be like, is it going to be like a Carl Lewis type of, this icon of the '84 Olympics, Mary Lou Retton, right? You're gonna bring these people
Caitlyn
back.
Jenner. Come on.
It's those are the things you want to see. So,
and I want the taste of their country, and I don't know that I got the taste of their artists. Usually, you'll say, "Oh, I want to hear that more songs from that person," and there weren't that many of them that you could really latch onto. But they did have a cool cauldron. It was like a hot air balloon, and that was interesting. And then to close with Celine Dion, where you think, oh my God, the stiff person disease is pausing for a minute while we can have this big song. David Foster's playing the piano for her. It's like, all right, we're there. We're in. So they did a fine job, but it was way too long. And I wanted a little more of the local flavor.
There's your moment. Where was Daft Punk? Were they there? Daft Punk, the French electronic duo. I mean, that's their game, right? There's their opportunity to shine.
There has to be somebody smoking cigarettes somewhere.
I
And
know you were saying about like it was very French. So what does that mean? There baguettes and
yeah, and there's
cigarettes,
going to be coffee and we're going to be, walking down the whatever. Yeah.
right? Talking down to people.
But then the games start, and right away there, I think the broadcasters are wrong in keeping from us how maybe secondary the United States is. They talked all about the swimmers and the swimmers are they're going to clean house, and we haven't. I mean, yeah, we've gotten bronze and silver, but this gold rush is not the same as when Michael Phelps was in there. And you kind of downplay the Australians who, do not like the cowbell when the United States ring the cowbell, and they've been doing really well.
I've enjoyed it so far. I've caught not every night, but not start to finish every night, but most nights I've caught a very large chunk of that primetime broadcast. I've watched during the day I'm working, but over the weekend I caught some live action here and there on some of the additional the NBC Sports app. You can watch some off-brand things. Like I was watching a little badminton, which is kind of weird, and some rugby and some basketball and things like that.
Surfing.
Yeah, it's some just kind of been able to hop around, but I've enjoyed the prime time where they're just they're hitting the key events of the day. I know who won. It doesn't really matter because I like getting the story and the drama. I thought, it was nice what they did. You mentioned the swimming, but the French swimmer Leon Marchand, who won that was at the 400 IM, and his coach Bob Bowman. It was
Michael Phelps'
coach,
and he goes to school in the United States. I
right?
mean,
And I thought
more of a tie. We don't.
That's a good story. And the men's U.S. gymnastics, which you've got the one dude who is Mr. Pommel horse, right? It's like I only do one thing.
Don't ask me to do anything more. I'm just doing my horse.
I used to joke with a friend about there was a restaurant in one of the cities I used to work in. And you would open up the menu and they would have their Italian cuisine and then their Mexican cuisine and then their burgers and then this and their appetizers. That it was like 18 pages of menu. And it's, when you do so many things,
how could you do any of them well?
You can't do any of them well. And then you go to a place. Have you ever been to a Cane's Chicken?
Yes.
Yeah. So Cane's Chicken, if you've never been to one, all they sell are chicken fingers. It's like chicken fingers. If you go look on the menu, it's like chicken fingers, fries, coleslaw. The menu options are just variations of those items. There's no vegan things. There's no beef. There's no nothing else. They do chicken fingers. That they do one thing. They do one thing well, and that's Mr. Pommel horse here. He did his Clark Kent. He took his glasses off and then
did it.
Slammed. Yeah, and he did. And he's one of the favorites for gold in the individual. I'd never heard of him, but he won 2 NCAA championships is on pommel horse. He won a world championship on pommel horse. That's all he does. It's his one thing.
And it kept somebody who was like an all-arounder from getting on the team. And there was a little controversy about that. Like, should this happen? But hey, they got a medal and he could get a gold.
It's not a bad strategy if you think about it. It's great if you've got depth and you've got 5 people who could do 5 things very well. But if you're, men's gymnastics is not at the same level as the women's gymnastics in the U.S. And if you really want a medal, you need somebody who's going to dominate the pommel horse. You need somebody who's going to dominate on the rings, those types of things. And if you can just come up with like 5 people who maybe they do multiple events, or maybe you're just like this guy.
Maybe what you need to do is have a winner in each of the events, and that's all you need. And then if they're kind of stumbly on the other stuff, well, we want the individual medals. But, he can do a Rubik's Cube under 10 seconds.
I know.
And what I loved is as soon as he got off, he's like, where's the glasses? Come on, where are my glasses? And much as they were hugging him, he still wanted the glasses. And then he puts the glasses on, and people are like hugging him, and they're wrecking the glasses. And I'm thinking, oh, I hope to God he has another pair somewhere because this could be trouble. But he'll be fun to watch as the week progresses. And diving has been fun to watch too. I think I'm kind of an expert on that now. They're a little short near the end, or they're a little tilted. But there's one commentator from the diving, and I wish I knew her name, but she's so nasty. She's real, like, critical of everything. And you're thinking, well, all right, so you did this back in 1962. Let's see you get out there and do it now, okay? But she's real. It's like mom. And you don't want mom to tell you everything is bad, but she does. Is it Cynthia Potter? I think that's her name. So that kind of has, if you will, killed me a little bit on that. I don't think they go into the village enough. I want to see more of those cardboard beds. I want to see where they eat, and are they eating crap like the rest of us, or do they have like somebody who's cooking just for them? Does Simone Biles have to stay in those houses, or does she get to stay at the hotel? Is she at the Ritz or something? How does this work?
Yeah, I was wondering about that because you like Simone Biles. It's one thing if you're a 18-year-old and you're rooming up with, but she's what, 27, and she's married to an NFL player. It's different.
And they're richer than Midas.
Yeah.
She's gonna stay in with the rest of them.
Is LeBron James sleeping on a cardboard bed? The man's 39 years old. You can't do
No,
that.
this shouldn't happen. Or at least there should be like some ranking of rooms. I think I'd like a single. And you go, no, you don't get a single. You're going to be with the 15-year-old who's going to be up all night partying because he didn't do anything.
The thing that's funny also is with gymnastics, it keeps throwing me off because one of the commentators his name is Terry. And so the other commentary is like, you really nailed that, Terry. And then I'm thinking, it's like, are they talking to me?
Are you talking to me as a guy?
You're talking to me? Wow, this is very personal, these Olympics. Thank you.
They really figured out how to do this, right?
Yes, they've cornered the Terry market. So they are speaking to me.
This year they have put a lot of celebrities in the seats. So the NBC has some kind of control over those tickets. And you'll see just randomly, you go, Tom Cruise is there? Why is Tom Cruise there? And then you'll see Nicole Kidman is there too, but you don't put the two together. You say, oh, why sitting next to her, and they're kind of halting about it. I think is that Keith Urban? Well, yeah, he would be sitting next to her since they're married. And then you'll see Kevin Hart somewhere. And then they call some of those ones over. Like John Mulaney the other night had to do some commentary on something. I think, what you won't do for a free seat to the Olympics. And poor Colin Jost he's part of some Saturday Night Live thing that they're doing, which I don't get at all. But I also don't get that we need to have Wicked in every night's commentary,
Right.
Oh, look, there's Cynthia Erivo, who's the star of the upcoming Wicked.
Yeah.
And that's a Universal project, which is owned by NBC.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Synergy.
Then.
The Minions are in there. It's like, okay, I see that you're doing these integrated ads, basically, so that we don't see really what you're doing with the spare time.
Right.
You're trying to promote stuff that's coming up later in the year, and that's what NBC is using it for. But they don't do as many stories as they used to. There's always somebody who slept in a car for 6 months and, is eating cardboard half the time, and now suddenly is a skateboard phenomenon. But they don't do that as much because I think everybody realizes they've got to be the creator of their own content.
Yeah, and it's been strange too. I guess they're trying to go for something. Is it the pop culture thing where they're using celebrities to interview? Like Snoop Dogg is everywhere.
And they don't. Yeah, and Snoop is a nice guy, and he does have his heart in it. But do I want that? I want someone who ask the right question.
Yeah, and it's strange too because I don't know who are you trying to attract with that audience, because it's not like Snoop is a 20-year-old icon and you're trying to bring in.
No, he's going for the voice crowd,
right? He's older. I mean, nothing against him, but he's like just a couple years older than me. But
he's the safest rapper they could find.
He's at a different point in his career, and it's like are you bringing in the Gen Z crowd by having Snoop Dogg on your? It seems odd. I mean, I guess it's fun. It's adding something a little bit different than they've done in the past. But
Maybe Nicki Minaj will show up when Sha'Carri Richardson is running, you know?
yeah,
Let's compare nails. Come on, let's look at our nails and see what they look like.
yeah. But it'll be interesting. I mean, it's we're closing in on the first week. I mean, it's like we're not quite halfway yet, but it moves along pretty quick, and we'll be done before you know it.
Well, the track and field things should bring out the best in the United States. That's where I think we'll get the golds that will put us at the top of the list, because I think we always seem to dominate.
You know what else is dominating these days? Deadpool and
Oh my
Wolverine.
God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Terry. Can I tell you how good this movie is?
Is it good?
It is so good. And you know what it is? It's everything you wanted to say about a Marvel film, and nobody says it. I mean, it's just Deadpool is the best commentator ever. Deadpool and Wolverine. They explain right away how they get Wolverine out of the grave. And there is so much that hinges on the world behind the scenes. If you know anything about Marvel and Disney, if you know anything about Warner Brothers, they have so many cameos. I don't want to spoil it for you, because when you see them, you start laughing. They're so good. Does the thing make any sense? Probably not. Does he comment on the idea that, yeah, this is usually where it's really long and we get a lot of exposition? But there's one character, I won't tell you what his name is, but he has this really bad accent. Deadpool says, "Who's your dialect coach? The Minions?" It's just, there's stuff like that throughout the whole film that's just marvelous. They do, there's been talk about using the Madonna song, and they do a great job with that as well. It's just pitched at a reset like you can't believe. This is how Marvel can clear the decks and move on to another whole world. Their clearance rack belongs to Deadpool. He's the one who's going to do it. So will you put it on your list? And I know
I'll put it on my list.
You're a Marvel person, but you will love it.
Yeah, I did see the original, and I liked it. I liked it a lot. I did not see Deadpool 2 because I think I just fell back into my I will not watch any Marvel movies mode. But I should, and I think you're right. I need to go see Deadpool and Wolverine.
It strikes a blow for all those poor sad sacks that are kind of second tier superheroes. And bring them out. And it's like, oh, we're kind of sad. We all have to hang together because we don't have anybody else helping us. So in numbers, there is strength.
Yeah, but that one has been just crushing it at the box office. Over 200 million in an opening weekend. The highest grossing R-rated movie opening weekend ever. It's insane.
Yeah, but we needed that. And I think it says the audience is there for a movie if they really are trying hard. Twisters is still doing well too. And we needed those kind of summer movies to give us a reason to get out of the house.
Yeah.
So what have you been watching then? If you haven't been to Deadpool, come on.
Well, I did, just for our listeners or longtime listeners, I did finally finish Shogun. It's like the longest slog in my TV watching history. I like fell asleep and woke. I think I had to watch the final episode over 2 nights because I kept dozing off, and I can't understand Japanese, so I need those subtitles. So I did finally finish it. It's a good show. Is it worthy of every Emmy nomination it got? I don't know. There's so many good programs out there. I don't know if I'm gonna watch season 2. It took me so long to get through season 1.
Yeah.
And they kind of ended it. I don't know if it's one that I want to come back to. We'll see. But yeah, I kind of got through that, and right now we're closing in on the end of House of the Dragon, which is the season 2 of the Game of Thrones spinoff. And wow, this season has been crazy.
So that's still keeping you going.
Oh yes. So there's another show I've been watching on HBO. It's called Charlie Hustle and the Matter of Pete Rose. So I watched the first episode. I think it's a 4-part series, but it goes into Pete Rose and how his beginnings, but then it gets into his gambling and obviously the fact that he's banned for life from baseball and can't get into the Hall of Fame. Some interesting takeaways just from the first episode. One, he doesn't drink. He only drinks like iced tea, which is interesting. apparently he and Johnny Bench do not get along. That was made clear
Oh,
by the fact that Johnny Bench did not want to participate in the Pete Rose documentary, and has had words about Pete Rose in the past. And he wears these like monogrammed, they're dress shirts that are like way too big for him. It's like we got to. It's like went shopping. It's like if I go shopping without my wife, it's the type of shirt that I would buy because it's just 6 sizes too big. It's just very comfortable. I could fit in it great. Honey, you got to bring it in a little bit. So he wears these dress shirts, and on the collar, they're all embroidered with Hit King. So it's like
oh,
that's who Mr. Pete Rose is. So it's interesting. I still got a few episodes to go on that, but I've also been watching Hard Knocks. Now, have you ever watched Hard Knocks, Bruce?
no, no.
So Hard Knocks is a series I've actually never watched it before because it's a show that each season they pick a different NFL team and they go through training camp and it follows them as they get ready for the season. And it's always teams like I don't care how the Miami Dolphins are doing. I don't care how the Raiders are doing. I'm a New York Giants fan. But what did they do? Because this is the 100th season of New York Football Giants football.
Uh,
And they're not doing training camp. Like they've never agreed to do training camp. It sounds like they never will agree to do training camp. But they gave HBO a special like off-season edition of Hard Knocks, and we've got like one more episode to go as of this recording, and they follow the team basically through free agency through to the draft, and it goes through some of the most fascinating things, like because the big storylines of the off season for the Giants were, would they resign Saquon Barkley, who is their former number one pick, who has had some injuries, but he was a free agent. He was a free agent a year ago, and they used the franchise tag on him, and they didn't want to do it again. So it gets into like you hear the phone conversations with their general manager and Saquon and Saquon's agent, and it sounded like maybe a deal would come together, and it did not. And it gets into some of the signings that they also had that like, wow, how did they signed a guy from the Packers who had no idea. I had no idea he had a contract like offer from the Jets because he wanted to reunite with Aaron Rodgers, and they basically said like if you want him, you've got to top the Jets, and the Giants went in and topped an offer to John Running Jr. and now he's a New York Giant. So it's like these little things that you just don't ever see. But one of the funniest moments is they're at the NFL Combine and the coaches and the scouts and in the front office are sitting there watching this, and Brian Dable, their head coach, is like, "You guys think I could run the 40 in seven?" Like meaning 7 seconds, and they're all laughing at him. They're like, "No, you can't do that." And there is a guy that ended up setting the record for like fastest 40-yard ever in the combine. And Dable's like, "All right, if you give me a 20-yard head start against him, do you think I could beat him?" And they're like rolling over, like there is no way he's losing it because like, come on, guys, you're killing me. But it's been fun to watch. It's been an interesting show.
do you think this would be a good way to cover the Olympics,
It might be.
where you show the kind of angst it takes to get to where they're at, so that then, if you remember, there was a TV show called Cheer, and it was also the guy also did Last Chance U, where you follow these teams and how you get to the big game. I bet that would be a fascinating way to look at the Olympics. If we had looked at the women's gymnastics team, for example, a year out and where they were, and like if Suni Lee, where she almost didn't, make it because she had health problems, I think this would be a fascinating way to kind of understand what this is all about.
Yeah, it's for me as a sports fan, because you always see trades happen or free agency happens, and all you see is the end result that the team signs.
Yeah.
But with the NFL, with some sports like NFL and the NBA in particular, all the top players sign within the first couple days. It's like, if you're not on it immediately, you're out of it. So, and you always wonder, it's like, wow, how does a team sign, like 15 free agents in 48 hours? It's insane. And you see it here, and it's crazy because there's like it's not just the general manager making the calls on these. He's got a whole team, and each member of his front office team is responsible for different players, but they all have to work within a salary cap. So you can't have like 15 guys laying out 15 different offers. It's like
That's as good as we can go.
that's
We're good.
yeah. So it's like a constant of
Take it or leave it.
guy shows up in the GM's office and he's like, we can get so and so for X number of dollars. What do you think? And he's like, do it. We're going, and they'll make the call on it, and then they move on to the next guy, and it is like a whirlwind of a time. It's been a really fascinating show to watch.
And the losers are calling up Real Housewives of New York saying,
Yeah,
can we get on that show somehow? Is there some way we can get our money somewhere, somehow? But
somewhere, somehow.
Well, good.
Yeah. So anything else? What's on the horizon?
That's next week, I think we're going to look at Ocean Explorers.
Okay.
And this new James Cameron series where they have spent a ton load of money. I mean, a ton load of money. They have this ship. The Titanic funded that ship. I'm sure it did. And they've got these little vehicles that go underwater that you can get right up close to sharks, you name it, whales. They're all underneath there, and they're seeing the things that most people don't get to see. Mm-hmm. And I did talk with a couple of the explorers that are involved in this, and they tell you what it's like. Polar bears. You're going up and petting a polar bear, for God's sake. So that's a show that's coming up in the next week, and I think it will be quite fascinating for people to watch. Only 6 episodes. We'll talk about it, and we'll bring you an interview with those who are involved. But right now, we're in the Olympic zone.
We're in the Olympic zone. So we're going to wrap up this episode. You're going to go and you're going to go watch the Olympics. We've only got, a week or so left of this, 10 days.
I don't have much left.
There's not much to go. Yeah.
And then 4 years.
And then we got to wait 4 years. Well, 2 if we go.
2 for the winter, but, I'm only in on the curling.
That's right. Curling. That's where it's at. All right. Well, on that note, thanks again for listening, and we'll be back again next week with another episode of Streamed and Screened.